I like the idea, I like the feel, but I didn't like the look so much, right? With pieces of garden hoses on glued on a shoe, you're not going to make a business.
If anyone could see the potential in a running shoe with garden hose attached to the soles, it's Olivier Bernhard. The 6-time Ironman and 2-time world champion triathlete spent decades training at the highest levels of competition. But after leaving the sport, a friend of a friend reached out with a bizarre contraption. When it comes to running shoes, the usual suspects like Nike, Brooks, and Asics are tried and true. But when Roger Federer decided to invest in On, the running world took notice. Sales are up 77% over 2020, and On is expecting to generate over $763 million in sales by the end of this year. The 3 numbers to look out for in this story are 1,000, the amount Olivier took home after winning his first professional race, 150,000, his annual salary at the height of his earnings, and 746 million, the amount On raised in its IPO. In just 11 years, the upstart shoe company went from $0 to a valuation over $7 billion. Here's how a world champion triathlete landed Roger Federer on their way to creating one of the fastest growing shoe companies in the world. For CNBC Make It, I'm Nate Skid. This is Founder Effect. Olivier grew up this close to the poverty line on his family farm on the Swiss countryside, far from the urban city centers and the cool shoe stores found inside of them.
So you could call them in some ways entrepreneurs, but not so much in that kind of business driven. So not so much. No, I think I just got the athlete's spirit or athlete's gene in my blood running, and I think that got me really started.
In the early 80s, he became enthralled with endurance athletes, competing in a new sport called triathlons that combined 3 of his favorite activities. But he wasn't the fastest sprinter, the most adept biker, or the strongest swimmer. He was, on the other hand, exceptional at enduring their physical tolls. But turning his passion for triathlons into a living was a long, hard road. Olivier was stuck in a cycle.
I still remember that I had to collect some prize money every race I did in Europe in order to pay the next flight, right? So if I didn't make any prize money, I had to skip a race.
His first real payout came at the age of 21, finishing first place in a marathon in Tucson, Arizona.
And I won $1,500 and a box of power bars. And it was like Christmas and Easter and everything in one day. I couldn't believe it.
But after paying his brother back for the entrance fee, Olivier took home $1,000. And so began a 2-decade career, culminating in 2 world championships and 6 Ironman titles. So how do you go from, like an aspiring athlete to a 3-time world champion?
Often I see the same thing pretty similar in business. Don't think too much about, what's on top. I mean, just take step by step and, enjoy the levels you reach.
At the height of his earnings as a professional triathlete, Olivier was bringing in about $150,000 a year. By the time he turned 35, he knew his career was entering its final stage. In 2006, at the age of 37 and after having 3 kids, he entered his last professional race. So when you're kind of wrapping up your career, it sounds like some people have a hard time kind of letting go of that competition and the training. How did you make that transition? How did you make that move?
I mean, it wasn't a clear cut. I mean, yes, ending the career was a clear cut, but training so many hours, and as a long distance athlete, you spend a long time on a bike and also running, out in nowhere, right? And sometimes in the desert, Tucson, along a dry creek. And I always was thinking, about not only another running shoe, but another running feel. How could I place another running sensation in a running shoe?
After retiring, Olivier founded a coaching company and even had 100 athletes in his camp. But he just couldn't shake the idea of coming up with a better running shoe.
Oh, I don't believe so much in luck in life. I think it was just, it was something that needed to happen. That a friend of mine, or then now a friend of mine, but an engineer from Zurich called me and said, look, I have an idea. I want to put it on your shoe, on your existing shoe. And that's pretty much that ugly looking, old Nike shoe, Pegasus. And he put on something that looked like or were actually pieces of a rubber hose. And I said, I'm not going to run in these, right? But then finally, I ran in that sample and it struck me. It was something I never felt before. And there was so much of that sensation. I felt like, whoa, this is really helping the runners to to show what running is all about.
Olivier says the difference was the way the rubber hose not only padded vertical movement, but assisted horizontally as well. Now, Olivier might know a good running shoe when he sees one, but he isn't a numbers guy. So he brought in two partners who knew each other from their time at McKinsey. If anyone could help Olivier turn his crazy shoe idea into a profitable business, it was Casper Capetti and David Alleman. In 2010, the trio launched On out of an office in Zurich. So how did you bring the team together? What was that like?
I realized soon I'm not gonna, be the businessman or one-man show that can actually pull this off. And I realized that I'm probably not the numbers guy. I love numbers, but there are better guys out there. I love design, but I've not studied design. I love marketing, but I'm not the marketeer. So I reached out to Casper, who used to be my agent at a certain point of my professional career as a triathlete. And he then brought David on board, who was his best friend in his career.
Olivier wouldn't say how much, but each person invested the same amount in the startup.
And I think that was really the fair point to start, right?
In 2010, just 3 years after hanging up his cleats, On was born. But now, they had real skin in the game, and it was time to act, fast. Dave flew straight to China to begin working on a manufacturing process.
We had to be super quick. I mean, we knew, we can't lose much time, and we won't lose. I mean, every half year, we lose, or every 2 months we lose, is costing us only money. So we had to be very quick.
In 6 months, they took On from an idea to a prototype. Its first production order was for 10,000 sneakers. The company generated about $100,000 in revenue that first year. But those early shoes were squeaky and not exactly aesthetically pleasing. So they came up with another prototype, this one called the Cloud Racer. In 2013, the On team headed to Munich for ISPO, the largest sports gear exhibition in Europe. Expectations were low. But on a whim, they entered the Cloud Racer into a competition for the Gold Award. They beat out over 300 competitors at the exhibition. This was a big deal for such a small company.
And that was a needed push at the very start, because I remember Casper and I driving to Munich from Zurich. It's a 3-hour drive with the car. We said, let's make a promise, we only gonna sign 3 countries. It's Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. No others, because we need to focus our energy. And we sat in the car 3 days later, and of course it was 19 countries.
That same day, On received an order for 2,000 pairs of Cloud Racer sneakers. The only problem? The shoes didn't exist. Do you know how you guys employed your cash?
At the beginning, I think in shoe business or in many cyclical companies, right? Our business, it's the risk that you actually have to pay the product before it's even produced, right? Even us being a startup, they wanted to see the money before they even would start sewing, or producing outsoles. And then, you pay maybe half of it, and then the other half as soon as it's on the boat. And you only get the money not only once the product's actually sold to the end consumer, then you maybe have another 60, 90 days till you have any money on the bank account.
The team was cash poor, but received an infusion from 4 angel investors. Olivier would not disclose that amount. So what does your expansion look like? Was there, you land these 19 countries, which is fine, but you still have to sell shoes.
You not only have to convince the end consumer, but even more the retailer. And the retailer, he has a reputation, or she has a reputation on the line. Not only at the beginning, we would go to retailers and make a presentation like all other brands would do, right? And then we were just unhappy, and with the results, they didn't buy in, and not at the end, they would not say, give me the order form and I order 50 or 100 shoes. They often said, I think about it. And we all know what that means, right? Probably not, or not now, or not yet, right? And we said, why don't we go run with them? And then what happened, and we realized that really after 1 or 2 times we did it, they started asking questions. They said, I actually like the landing. Why is that landing so soft? And why is it so rigid in the forefoot? And how come so propulsive at the very end when you push off? So it was much easier to answer the questions they had about our technology instead of trying to sell them our technology. And that really made then the turnaround.
So I really love the idea of let's stop talking about what this thing can do and let me just show you. It sounds so much better.
It's honest, right? It's the honest way of it's not me trying to sell something. It's really you tell me if you like it or you don't. And then if you like it, you probably want to know more, right?
On's brand of experiential marketing was effective. In 2013, the team was only 10 members strong. Then, in 2014, On's running shoes were worn by Nicholas Spirig, who took home the silver medal in the triathlete during the Rio Olympics.
I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's not only that you see, even only seeing people competing in these shoes is something else, right? But then if you see that athletes go for medals at the Olympics is something else, truly. That was super emotional.
Then they noticed an Instagram post by Roger Federer, who was wearing a pair of On sneakers. So, like any good marketer, they sent him a gift package. It didn't take long before they were having dinner together and talking shoes. So, how does Roger come into your life? How does that even happen?
You know, the funny thing, and I know, still talking about it, it might sound a bit arrogant, but it wasn't us finding Roger. He found us. I mean, come on. I mean, would we dare as a young Swiss running shoe company to sponsor Roger? That's not going to happen. We wouldn't have the funds, so we wouldn't even think about that, right? So it was him reaching out to us and saying, maybe there's a way we can partner up. And he was never, it was never in the room saying, could it be a sponsorship? He knew that we were too small and it's not our sport, but he wanted to become a partner.
And what was your reaction?
To be very honest, we were a little afraid at the beginning, is this even too big for our brand? His name is everyone knows Roger. Does it now become, Roger owns On, aside of, everything else he's doing. And Roger was always aware, and he always wanted to be very careful that this is not the case.
In 2019, Federer invested an undisclosed sum in On and is currently designing a customized shoe for grass, clay, and hard courts.
He came in the office, maybe the second time he visited into the lab, and he said, my aim is to build the best tennis shoe ever.
The pandemic has been good for the shoe company. In March of 2020, sales stopped in their tracks, but by the end of the year, they were triple the sales volume from 2019, and the world took notice. On went public on September 15th, 2021, and raised $746 million with a valuation of $7.3 billion. So, why make the decision to go public? How did that come about?
If you want to play in the big league, and with us in Europe, you would call it the Champions League, like in soccer, right? And you want to compare, and fairly compare to Adidas, Nike, Brooks, all these big guys. When it comes in terms of financials, you have to play the same rules. And I think that's one of the reasons we've grown up, and we think that we want to be comparable to these companies because we want to keep growing. Another important thing is governance. We have a dual share construction that we actually can secure our maturity, and so we can steer the company, the five of us. And that's super important. As you grow and have your financial rounds, you might lose maturity, and we gain that back through that dual share class. And that's an important thing. And then last, and maybe that's even the most important thing, is we have huge dreams. We have dreams how to make more Olympians in track, on the road. And to make these dreams come through, we need resources, right? We need financial, we need funds. And the IPO is like a big ATM machine, right? Where you can then go and get this money. So it's maybe a couple, most important reasons why IPO.
And now the company has over 1,000 employees and sells shoes in more than 60 countries, with North America making up its biggest market with about 40% of its business. I've only written down one note this entire interview, and I want to bring it back to the very beginning of this interview. You said, don't look at the top. Look at what's right in front of you. Can you walk through that philosophy for me?
I remember one of the first talks when I got to know David. Casper I knew from being my agent for a long time. But David mentioned, okay, let's do it, and let's think about the business plan and who we're going to attack. I said, no, we're not going to attack. We are competing, but we're not going to attack. It's not, a confronting sport. We are at the same starting line, and we are small, we are slow, and we don't hit any numbers for the big guys right now. We should just try to make the best product on the planet.